Okay, so on the last video of this little Mustang project, I realized a couple things. This car does have quite a few problems, one of which is the exhaust leak, which ended up in a P0171 code. That was the passenger side exhaust leak on bank 1. I looked it up and it looks like this Mustang actually, or this generation Mustang, has a fairly common problem with the runoff or condensation from the exhaust lines dripping onto the exhaust manifold, causing the flange to crack over time. I'm 99% sure that's what's going on with this car, considering it sounds like it's running an open header and that it has 241,000 miles. The next issue is my rear main seal on this car being bad. Also, pretty common problem, and yeah, so I gotta drop the tread. But this video is gonna be about me getting out the exhaust manifold and possibly buying a set of really cheap eBay headers to put them on just for the time being, since I do eventually plan on 5.4 swapping it with a Lincoln Navigator 5.4 liter 4-valve motor. So in the interest of full disclosure, I've never actually done a exhaust manifold job on any car ever, but from what I can tell, I gotta pull off this intake clamp right here, and that should give me more access to get down to the exhausty manifoldy thingy. So let's get a flathead screwdriver, and I could use a smaller screwdriver. I have a smaller screwdriver. I just don't know where it is. So that is an intake off. So there's a little sensor down here. It might be easier to take this one single clip off right here instead, so you get it all pigtails together. Okay, there's that plug out right there. Definitely use a new air filter soon, so that's going to be a thing. But now that the intake plenum is out, I should have more space to see what's going on underneath. I really don't like just how close this AC line is to everything. Makes it a lot harder. Okay, so first spark plug wire is out. In an attempt to make this easier, I'm going to switch over to a shallow 13mm because of spacing issues. From what I hear, this side is much harder to get off than the other side, which is why I'm doing it first. Now, plus before I order those headers, I want to make sure this is the actual problem. I'm probably going to turn the camera off. I'm pretty sure you don't need to see me take each and every single one of these bolts out. Okay, so it's been a little over a month since I've gotten this car. I think it's November 1st. It's now, I bought it in October 1st. It's now November 1st. Temporary tag has run out, and I'm going to get back to working on it because some stuff has gotten in the way, and I'm not going to let it get in the way anymore. So, last time we met, or last time you saw me speaking to the camera, got this intake plenum out, got most of the bolts on that side out. Now I'm just going to finish taking off these exhaust manifolds and start mounting the new ones. And then the car should pass smog. And from there, I'll figure out the rest. But there's a track day coming up at the end of this month, and I really want to get this car ready for that. Take a 240,000 mile Mustang that I bought for $500 off Craigslist, and take it to a track day. It's a plan, right? Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is taking off this little thing that holds on the little dipstick into position, because I need to get that exhaust manifold bolt off right there, and it's directly behind this little thing. Right there. I can't get a wrench on that, so I'm gonna pull it off, see if I can like rotate it around or move it, and then keep going from there. It should be an 8mm bolt. Okay, so next step is to pull off this. It connects to the manifold on that side. I'm pretty sure it's something related to the EGR system. All I know for sure, it makes it really hard to take off. So pull that off, take off that last bolt over there, and hopefully this manifold should pop right out. I'm so optimistic. Okay, so this right here is the EGR connector thing. It goes down to the lower bed of the exhaust manifold. And I don't have a wrench that big. I tried 25mm, it's definitely bigger than that. So I'm just going to use this big old plier and try to turn it off. One hand. Oh, what the hell? I did it one-handed. I was expecting it to be much harder. Oh, that was easy. Never mind. Well, now that's off. I got one more bolt here, and hopefully the flange will just come right off, seeing as the bottom flange is broken. Okay, so now I'm under the car, and that right there is the header flange. These two should be 15mm. The bottom one seems pretty easy to get to. Top one, not so much. There's kind of an O2 sensor in the way, so I might need to pull that out too. But let's see if I can get the bottom one out without any issue. Actually, I'm debating whether to use this impact gun or just get a breaker bar. Probably smarter to get a breaker bar first. Okay, so earlier I said you might need to take this O2 sensor out, but I am pleasantly surprised that I might have found a positive solution. That is, depot socket plus extension plus extension plus extension. So you can see right there, That goes on nice and snug on there and comes out right back here. So I might be able to just pop it out without having to take that O2 sensor out. Okay, so that did work, as you can clearly tell. Okay, now for this one right here, and then the one on the back right over there. Let's see if I can get these two out without the O2 sensor removal too. Okay, so as you can see, the exhaust manifold has separated from the actual head. I'm really hoping that didn't break a plug on the way out. So if I can just pull it out, oh shit, I can just pull it out. That's pretty awesome. Might need 2 hands for this, hold on. Okay, so here is the big difference between the two headers. Again, this is the driver's side, not the side that's broken, which is the passenger side. 241,000 mile OEM exhaust header versus cheap eBay DNA racing header. Honestly, the difference is kind of mind-blowing. Like, you can just, yeah. If you look inside too, you can see just how much more constricting it is compared to the DNA one, which looks pretty awesome. So I'm not really expecting much of a performance boost. I just want to pass smog, and this seemed like the best option. You know, upgrade and maybe get a half a horsepower more over stock, but mainly again to pass smog. Another thing to compare is the exhaust gasket that came on this kit is way thicker than the one that originally came on this car. I mean, that's a pretty big difference. So overall, I'm pretty happy with these DNA racing headers. I'm just gonna put the driver's side on first, and then I'm gonna move on to the passenger side. I think this might actually go pretty well. Let's hope I didn't just jinx it. So step one is to put this on, and then finagle this on right here. And again, you can see the difference between the header and the OEM one. It's pretty substantial. Okay, so this side is the one that's broken off, so we're looking forward to get this one out. All the bolts are off and everything, but this one appears to be a wee bit harder to finagle out. The question is, how does one get this one out? Because it looks like it's kind of close to the hole. Okay, another two-handed job. Okay, so I'm trying to get the manifold out, but this EGR hose is getting hung up on this. I thought about taking it down there, but there's really no way to get my hands in there. So I'm gonna try taking off whatever this assembly is so I can pop this right out. This is so much harder than I was thinking, but I'm getting close. I'm almost halfway there. Okay, so I got this exhaust manifold off, and I noticed a couple things. On the way out, it was hanging on these little studs that are used to hold on the valve cover, and I'm pretty sure to get the new one in, I'll need to take those spark plugs out. So, since I'm going to replace the valve cover gaskets anyway, I was going to do it originally at a later date, but I might as well do them now if it's going to be easier to put the exhaust manifolds on. And also, I got to take the spark plugs out, so I'm going to swap those out, probably go with some NGK ones, place the valve cover gaskets since they're obviously leaking everywhere, and then see what else needs to be done. Maybe the intake gasket? I don't think so. I don't know. We'll find out. What I do know is there's a lot of dry, crusty hoses that need to be replaced. And I think the valve cover would look pretty good in blue. Okay, so here's one of the spark plugs from the driver's side. Good thing I'm changing them out, actually. Or should I be more worried? I think they're just old. Okay, so I've hit a bit of an interesting predicament. So I got the spark plugs out, and I'm not too sure how to get this new header in. So from what I can tell, I need to pull out the dipstick tube, but I don't really know how to pull the dipstick tube out. Because I felt around for some bolts, I couldn't find any, and I'm actually a little confused, I'm not gonna lie. On a side note, every single spark plug was really badly fouled. I'm surprised this thing even ran. Like, all 6 of them were just toasted. So I just went on YouTube and I looked up this guy called Action Donkey Garage, and his method for getting this dipstick out was to take this bolt here and that bolt there out, move the master cylinder a bit, and then you have access to the dipstick. So let's see if that works. Okay, so I got the brake master cylinder loose and everything. It's currently sitting off the bolt, as you can tell, and I'm trying to get this dipstick out, but no matter what I look around down there, I can't find a bolt or anything holding the dipstick to the block. I did find like this weird washer thing, and I think it might be pressed in. I'm tempted to just grab a screwdriver and see if I could pry it out, but on the other hand, I really don't want to break this dipstick tube because it's like $34. Okay, so I'm currently under the car trying to get this stupid dipstick out, and what's weird is the positioning of the dipstick makes it really hard to get to, because right now there, that thing you see is the motor mount, and directly in between the engine block and the motor mount is the dipstick. I'm really just thinking just like pulling out and yanking the hell out of it, and don't even worry if it breaks. Because I gotta do the oil pan gasket anyways, if you see just how badly it's leaking under here. And I'm just thinking, meh, why not just take the oil pan off at the same time? But I've heard to get the oil pan out, you gotta drop or raise the motor a bit. I don't see why you would need to do that, but I'm trying to avoid doing that. I kind of want to paint the oil pan blue too. So paint the valve cover, the oil pan, and basically any part where I replace the gasket, I want to paint it blue. So I tried the whole going from underneath and prying it off thing. That didn't work. So I came up here and just yanked the stuffing out of it, and it's loose, like very loose, but still not all the way out. So I'm gonna keep yanking on it and see if I break it. And at this point, if I break it, I don't really care. I'm just gonna get another one from the junkyard because this is taking a lot longer than I expected it to. Okay, so good news, I got the dipstick off. Bad news, it broke. But now I'm gonna put the exhaust manifold gasket on there and see. Now I'm gonna put the exhaust manifold gasket on there and see if I can put the header on without taking the valve cover off. Okay, so I did end up taking the valve cover, or starting to take the valve cover off. Got the bolts off, realized I couldn't take the valve cover off until I took the ignition coil off, which is sitting right here. Now I'm going to take the valve cover off. There we go. Also, I'm going to clean and paint the valve cover because that's nasty and ugly. Bright side, there's not much sludge inside the engine. Not clean at all, but you know. Hey! The heads are made in Mexico. Who knew? Where is my valve cover gasket? Oh, there it is right there. Yep, good thing I'm replacing that because that looks knackered. So I'm going to take these off, paint them blue, put the exhaust manifold on, and pop this back on. Might swap out the ignition coil too, since I think this is the original one that came on the car back in 2000. And also, the more I take this engine apart, the more I'm impressed that it's still running. Side note, this valve cover is plastic, which I didn't think that was the thing that Ford did. But yeah, here's a pile of parts I've taken off this car already just to install these headers. It's kind of late, it's dark as you can probably tell, and I decided I'm going to take the mid pipe out and try to put the manifolds in from underneath because that might be my best option. That being said, I'm still going to take the valve cover off on this side, paint them blue, replace the valve cover gaskets. Okay, so each little valve cover stud has this little washer on it. Those need to be pulled out from there, and then I'm going to use this wire wheel on a drill and this polycarbonate abrasive wheel to strip all the old paint off it and then repaint it blue. Okay, so I got the mid pipe out. You can see that's where the headers go, and then into the little thing, the Y pipe, and pop back the side. I'm thinking of just deleting everything past here, just have a pipe and a flange that goes straight at the side of the Mustang, so it exit right there in front of the rear wheel, which would look kind of sick and be super loud. I think my dad likes it too, so we'll see. Okay, so I pretty much got the manifold mostly in, and I'm so close to getting it to line up and putting those bolts in, but the steering column is in the way. So not only have I taken the mid pipe out, I'm also going to take the steering column out so I can adjust it, pop the thing in there, because you can tell that's right where it's hitting. It's so close to going in, but nope. Once that goes in, I'll pop the steering column back in, put the header on, and call it a night. And I probably do the other side too, but the other side looks a lot harder. Or easier, who knows, we'll see. Okay, so I have the header on, but something weird's going on. When I try to reconnect the steering, it's not reaching. And for some reason, well, I haven't tightened it down all the way, but it almost looks like it's not flush with the head. So I'm going to keep tightening it down, see how it goes, and maybe the problem will fix itself. But it does look really cool. Just going to put that out there. Looks really cool. So now that the exhaust manifold is in, I can put the spark plugs in, and I'm swapping them out to a set of NGK V-Power R spark plugs. I've heard some good stuff about them on the Mustang forums and stuff. By heard, I mean I read some stuff. And hopefully they'll be better than my old completely fucked up plugs. Dude, they look like they could be from the RB26 Mustang from the Tokyo Drift movie. That's how bad they were. You remember. Okay, so since the clearance thing is really tight in terms of getting this header in, I'm going to try as much as I can to get as much space as I can to stick the thing in there. So that means taking out the exhaust studs, which I must say is very scary because they're pretty well known to break off inside the engine, like they have on the XJ650. I feel like I shouldn't have said that until I got the last two out, and I might have just jinxed myself. So let's knock on some wood real quick. Owie, that hurt. That splinter. But yeah, I'm gonna try taking those out and then hopefully slide the new header in and call it a day. Well, not call it a day. Then hook up the EGR system and paint the valve covers, put the valve cover gasket on, put the spark plugs in, and then call it a day. And then work on the Subaru. Also, it's a 5mm socket to take off these studs. Okay, so once I disconnected the steering rack, it was actually much easier to put this in. One key thing is if you look up here that there's a keyhole for this bolt to go through. It's much easier to adjust the position of the keyhole using the wheels and then just slide it on. Don't go inside, don't try to turn this because the steering actually gets locked. It's much easier to turn it from the actual wheel itself. So now that's it. I'm going to put the bolt, put some Loctite in it, torque the hell out of it, and then start installing everything else. Because both tethers are in. Next is the Y pipe, that's going to go back that way. And then I'm going to go to the top and start putting things together up there.